In this video, we will look at the Tender Group and Keypad within Register and how to use them. The keypad is used for keying in number values when entering quantities and amount tendered amongst other things. We have already seen the keypad in use in our previous videos, but there are a few key points to cover off quickly. As you have already seen, the keypad will only become active when prompted to enter a number. The numbers entered will be displayed in the display window. The keypad will automatically add in the decimal place when entering a price, although you can also add this manually. There is also a 00 button that comes in handy when entering prices. If at any point you make a mistake when using the keypad, simply tap the red C button. This will act like a backspace on a keyboard and will remove the last entered digit. You will typically finish using the keypad by tapping the Enter button. When generally using Register, you will see the red C Cancel button in the keypad become active even when the keypad is not. The C button doubles as a general cancel button. You can use this to cancel certain functions. For example, you might have tapped an item in the journal in error. Tapping the C button will cancel the selection. The Enter button also has a double purpose. It is primarily used alongside the keypad. It can, however, also be used to repeat the last added item. After an item has been added to the transaction, tapping the Enter button will add the same item again and will automatically increase the quantity. There are many different tender buttons. The other tender will give you access to additional payment methods that have been configured in the web portal, such as Cheque. There are 3 configurable quick tender buttons, which act as shortcuts for adding specific cash amounts, and finally the card and cash buttons for processing other cash and card payments. We will now show you all the different ways to tender, which will cover off the use of all these buttons. First is the exact cash scenario, where the customer is paying in cash with the exact amount. After adding the items, simply tap the large cash button. Register will assume the customer has paid the exact amount, open the cash drawer and print the customer receipt. In the second example, the customer is paying with more cash than required and will therefore need change. They are not, however, paying with an amount that is configured in the quick tender buttons. After adding the items, use the keypad to enter the amount of cash the customer is going to pay, followed by tapping the large cash button. Register will again open the cash drawer and print the receipt. This time it is also displaying the change due on the transaction summary. Our third example is much like the second. The customer is going to pay us with a £20 note. As this is a common payment, we have configured one of the quick tender buttons to £20. After adding the items, simply tap the appropriate quick tender button. Register will open the cash drawer and print the receipt and will display the change due on the transaction summary. As you can see, we have 3 quick tender buttons, all of which can be configured in the web portal. Now we will move on to card payments. Register integrates with many different payment solutions and can also operate with non-integrated or standalone payment terminals. In any scenario, to start a card payment, simply tap the card button after adding all your items. What happens next will depend on your configuration. If integrated, Register will send the amount owed to the payment terminal and will then prompt you to follow the instructions on that terminal. Once the payment process is complete, it will send a message back to Register and the transaction summary will display and the receipt will print. For non-integrated or standalone payment terminals, when you tap the card button, you will be prompted to process a payment for the amount on your terminal. Once the payment has been completed, you tap the Payment Successful button. The transaction summary will display and the receipt will print. If the payment is declined or fails, tap the Payment Failed button, which will return you to the transaction where you can choose an alternative tender. Our next example will show how simple it is to do a split tender. In this example, the transaction will be split between cash and 2 different cards. This is commonly seen in the hospitality sector where 3 people want to split a bill at a restaurant, or in retail where 3 people are splitting the cost of a gift. To carry out a split tender, first enter all the items, then, like we did in the second example, enter the amount of money the first person is paying, followed by the payment method of card or cash. Then repeat the process for the other payments. If you do not enter an amount and tap cash or card, Register will assume that is the final payment and will tender the remaining balance. Finally, we will show you how to use additional or other tenders that have been configured in the web portal. As before, add your items, now tap the Other Tender button at the top of the Tender Group. This will then provide a list of other available tender options. Tap the desired tender option, in this case Cheque. Confirm the amount being tendered and tap Continue. If configured, you'll be asked to enter a note against the tender. This is typically used for entering a reference for that payment, such as the cheque number. Enter your note and tap Save. The transaction summary will display and the receipt will print in the cash drawer open. You can also use additional tender options during a split tender in the same way you can cash or card. Further information on the keypad and all the tender and payment methods can be found in your user manual. If you still have any questions, please get in touch with your solution provider who will be able to offer further assistance.